Hey, welcome back. This is Jen, and you're listening to the Gossip Chronicles. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Just wanted to give a quick little hello. This is me. I wanted to let you guys know that this episode is going to be strictly me, and I do apologize. There's going to be 2 different clips. I started it and then I had to leave because I realized the time and I had to go pick up my kid from school because I'm a mom and that's what we do. So anyways, I just kind of wanted to give you guys a heads up that you'll see like a split, and don't be alarmed because you'll see me in 2 different atmospheres wearing 2 different outfits. So I just want to do a quick little let you guys know what was going on. But anyways, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Gossip Chronicles with Jen. I am rolling solo today, so I'm a little bit nervous, if you can't tell. This is going to be pretty exciting, but I felt like I wanted to do something a little bit different, kind of like get to know me. So hence you are in a new room with me today. I just loved the natural light that came through this window. And I kind of just wanted to take a step back because I know that obviously I started the podcast with a friend, and then I took over the podcast solo, and I kind of just wanted to take a moment, a little breather, if you will, because I had a friend that I hadn't seen in a long time, and we were conversating and basically just going back and forth and, what are you up to? What are you up to? Kind of a thing. And I expressed that I started a podcast, and they said, well, what's your podcast about? And what's the name? And then it got me thinking a little bit. So I kind of just wanted to take a step back, and especially since me starting this, I have gained new followers. So I kind of wanted just to jump into I get to know me. I get to know Jen. So I'm calling this my coffee time. Isn't this the cutest cup? Look at it from Stanley. Oh my gosh, it's so cute for fall. And that's the cool thing is today it is very hot. Still, I'm in Southern California, and I'm hoping, I was looking at the weather, and I'm hoping that this is going to be the last hot day before we get into fall here in California, because I am ready. Let me tell you. So yeah, let's just take a little step back. I'm trying to think because I kind of just went on a tangent. I had today off because it is my birthday weekend, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to record, and I kind of didn't even I knew what direction I wanted to go in, and it's my life. So it's kind of like, do I really need notes or do I not? But I just wanted to jump in and kind of talk about me and have you guys get to know me in a different light. So let's do it. I'm a little nervous. Um, so I wanted just to say, obviously, my friend had asked me when I said, what's the name of the podcast? And the podcast I said was the Gossip Chronicles. And I wanted to shed some light on the reason I chose this name. Well, it was kind of because Call Her Daddy is taken, so I couldn't take that name. But just kidding. It is actually really hard to come up with a podcast name, especially because there are so many different podcasts out there. So when you are on the path of becoming a podcaster, the number one thing is you have to run and kind of see whether or not your name is taken, pretty much. So you want to make sure that the name is free and available to you. And basically, if it fits your persona that you're trying to put out there, And with me, I went through so many different names of what I wanted to name the podcast. And it came to me one day, me and my best friend, we go through these little spurts of where we will talk all day long, and we're both moms. So it's very hard to get us on the phone. But when we are on the phone, we are on the phone. We talk literally for 3 hours. And it goes from hey, how are you? How are the kids? What are you going through? How's your spouse? And then it literally goes left, and we talk about everything and anything. So nothing is literally off the table. We talk about health related things and gossip we heard and trends we saw or things that we want to do. So it's never like a just generic conversation where you're talking about like something specific. You know, you have that one friend where you call really quick and it's like a 10-minute call and you're off the phone. Well, I kind of wanted to go in that direction because me and her, we will go, like I said, through spurts where we will talk for all day, every day. And then we don't talk for like a week and a half because our lives are just busy. So then we always tell each other, hey, let's catch up on the gossip. And it doesn't necessarily mean that like we're gossiping about people. It's just like our term that we use. So I kind of stole that from me and her. And I wanted to use that and be like, this is where you're talking to your homegirl. Like, I am your homegirl. Let's talk about life. Let's talk about everything and anything under the sun, whether it's health related, like fitness related, or if it's about, I don't know, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey, or just the, regular day to day talk about career choices, fashion choices, or if you want to go toward mental health and like things that I go through or what I've already gone through in my life. So I didn't want this to just be a podcast about social media related things or celebrity related things. And hence why I kind of traveled down the Tough Mom series. I'm not sure, since then I've had some new followers, but it's kind of why I wanted to do that episode series, was because I have actually been through a lot in my life. And I'm not saying like, oh, boohoo, poor me kind of a thing, but meaning like it's kind of shaped who I am. So I wanted to use this platform as a way to be like, hey, girl, I've gone through the same thing you've gone through. Or maybe you're going through something. Or I'm sorry, maybe you went through something in the past that I'm going through now. And it's almost like a like, let's chat about it kind of a thing. So that was my idea of why I wanted to start this podcast, is because I feel like ever since COVID happened, I've shifted a little bit as far as like I used to be super, super outgoing and super, let's make friends with everybody. So I feel like, especially because my birthday is this weekend, I feel like I'm in a new era. I feel like I'm in an era of finding out who my tribe is and whether or not um, that is relatively with people that I've known forever, and that's the cool thing about friendships, is that friendships, they grow with you. So if your friends are still your same friends that you've had since, let's just say, high school to now, then you obviously know that those group of girls are solid, right? Because you have grown through so many different chapters of life. And I'm blessed to say that I still do have a lot of girlfriends that I've had since high school. And then I've actually been able to also gain some friendships from when I was working in retail at a young age, and I've maintained those friendships as well. So I think at this point in my life, it's something that is very important to me, is who you surround yourself with. So people that you tend to spend a lot of time with, and people that you share your life experiences with, right? So I wanted this to be a safe space where we could all talk about different parts of life, different experiences, and that's kind of just where I want to go with this podcast. I don't really have, I know, when I was looking for to become a podcaster, a lot of people were like, find your niche. Is it niche or niche? I always want to know. So if anybody can tell me, but I want to say it's niche. Anyways, it's going to drive me crazy. But a lot of people were saying that you need to find that. But I feel like I'm such a person that I have so many different directions that I love, whether it's music. There's days where I wake up and I want to listen to 90s rap, or like today I was playing Erica Badu. I just have so many different interests that I don't like to shut the door on a lot of other things. So again, I don't want to pick on something that this is going to be, oh, this is only, about X, Y, and Z. This is not that kind of place. I want it to be a place of like openness and things that not only am I going through, but maybe something that you're going through. And let's just chat about it. That's kind of like the concept of where I want to go with my podcast. So don't take the name Gossip Chronicles just for the gossip part of it. It's more or less just like you and your girlfriend are chatting it up about life in general. And that's kind of just where I wanted to go. So, yeah. Um, so also I wanted to go take a step back and like you, as if like you're getting to know me, I wanted to give you like a heads up of who I am. So, me personally, I'm approaching 40 years old. So, this is my last weekend as a 37-year-old. I am going to be turning 38. And I have to tell you that it's been a crazy, crazy ride. And when I say crazy, I'm not meaning it like bad or like anything like that. I'm just saying that I've had so many great experiences in life. But it's wild because I was talking to a friend that I went to college with, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, I remember you when you did this, this, this." And I said, "Yeah." And then shortly after that, I moved to North Carolina. And they were like, "You moved to North Carolina? I did not know that." And I was like, "Wow, how did you not know that?" So it made me start thinking about it as well. And I was like, maybe I should start from the top, right? So, um, I've been born and raised in California, and from a small child, I think I was like 1 until 4 or 5. I lived in Northern California, like the Bay Area. So shout out to San Francisco, San Leandro, all of that area. That's where I lived. And then we traveled down to Southern California, where my mom was originally from. And we've been here ever since. But me, I as a child, my mom was very strict with me, and I wasn't really allowed to date. So I had my very first boyfriend when I was like 15, but my mom didn't know about it. And we technically didn't start actually becoming boyfriend and girlfriend until I was 16, because, as a Mexican mom, she would not allow that to happen. So I was 16 when we technically started dating. And me and him actually dated for a very, very long time. We dated all the way up until I want to say I was like 23. So that was a very big chunk of my life. But he was actually in the military. So because of him being in the military, I was able to actually do some traveling. First, he was obviously stationed in San Diego. So I would travel down there all the time to hang out. And then he actually got deployed to Virginia. So I would go out there all the time as well and visit. And then he got stationed in North Carolina. And that's what took me from from California to North Carolina. And I have to say that was such an amazing experience, because for one, I had this huge going away party. So shout out to all of the people who came to my going away party. it was it was a night to remember, that's for sure. But I packed up my whole life, and I had like an XB, and I don't know, like a Scion XB, if people know what those are, but there's like a little box. I used to call it a toaster on wheels. And I literally packed up my whole entire life, and my dad and I drove across the country. And when I say we drove across the country, he did majority of the driving. And I felt so bad because at that point, like, we literally partied all night, and then the next day we left. So I was so tired, and I want to say I was a little bit hungover. And my poor dad, he would like drive all the way until his eyes could not stay open anymore. And he'd be like, and I would be sleeping, and he would wake me up and he'd be like, "All right, Jen, you got to drive." And I'm like, "All right, all right." And so I would start driving. And mind you, I don't know if anybody has done this drive before, but from California to North Carolina, you hit spots where there's like literally nothing. You are just driving through flat land. And so I would get super, super tired. And unfortunately, I, I would call people, and my dad would be trying to sleep, and he would be like, "Are you serious right now?" And I'm like, "Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm falling asleep." And so he did majority of the driving, but still it was amazing, and an amazing experience. And I remember when we went through Tennessee, I wanted to stop in Knoxville, or I can't remember exactly. I want to say it was Knoxville. I don't even remember why. And we get through Tennessee and we're right about to cross over out of Tennessee. And I was like, Dad, where are we? And he was like, Oh, we just drove through Tennessee. And I was like, I told you I wanted to stop. He was like, You were sleeping. So it was a really, really cool experience to be able to do that with my dad. Even though majority of it I was asleep, but it was a really cool experience. And when I got to North Carolina, I was literally in awe. Like I was so dumbfounded because I'd traveled to Virginia before, right? So I had seen what like Virginia looked like. But when you plant yourself in a state that you know you're going to live there for a while, it almost becomes a like, wow, this is where I'm going to live. This is where I'm going to call home for a while. And I didn't really know how long I was going to stay. I knew that I was going to be there for some time. So when I say I was in awe is because it is so green. It is so beautiful. The humidity is absolutely insane there. So my curly hair did not last very long. I remember the first time I like got all dressed up, and at the time I had what is called like an A-line haircut. So if anybody, people who don't know hair, but it's pretty much where the back of your hair is shorter and then the front of your hair is longer. But I do have naturally curly hair. So this kind of haircut does not look good on curly hair. Like you have to do it pretty much. And so like I did my hair, and before I had moved, I had dyed like half of it purple. So I had like purple streaks, and I was obsessed with wearing my Steve Madden cowboy boots. I don't know why, but that was just a part of me. Like I literally wore those cowboy boots with everything. Like people said, like, you know how the era of wearing Uggs with skirts and stuff, that was me with my cowboy boots. I have no idea why, but so I got all dressed up and I went out and I like literally opened the door and the fresh air just hits me like a bag of bricks. And I just remember just that feeling. Like it's not even like a yuck feeling. It's just like, what is this? Because it's like you feel it on your skin, you feel it in your hair. Immediately my hair just like puffed up, and it was so wild. But to be honest with you, I think I just learned to live with it. And I met a lot of amazing people when I lived in North Carolina that I still talk to today. And it was a pretty cool experience. I got to see not only North Carolina, but I also got to see, we went to DC. We also did a little bit of traveling through South Carolina, which is another beautiful state. So that is one thing. The East Coast, especially the Southern East Coast, is very, very beautiful. And I was so weirded out because they don't have fences. So, like, you have your house and then you have the perimeter of your house, and then you have a fence that pretty much closes you off to your neighbors. And they did not have that there. And I'd be like, the neighbors can see us. So, yeah, it was just a different kind of life. It was very much slower pace, especially I lived on a military based town. So I remember when they actually opened up, what was it? It was Olive Garden. They opened up Olive Garden, and people were going absolutely crazy for Olive Garden. There was literally a line, like a 2-hour wait to get into the Olive Garden, because that was like their only nice restaurant. You would think that you were hanging out at Ruth Chris or something, even though they have reservations. But so yeah, it was just a pretty cool experience to live there for a while. And there was no mall. I had to like drive 45 minutes away to go to a mall. And I'm not saying that like, oh, boohoo, poor me. I'm just saying like that's how different life was there. And I kind of liked it, to be honest with you, because it was very much slower pace. Like people traveled like to each other's houses and they would hang out there. It was just a different kind of community. It wasn't like here where your local bar is, down the street. Don't get me wrong. They had a local bar. It was called, what was it called? Duds and Studs. And it was a laundromat in the front. And then you go through the laundromat and then the bar is in the back, which is an incredible idea if you think about it. But I think that was pretty much one of the only bars in the area. So it was like a 2-for-1. You did your laundry and then you got a little tipsy. But So I lived there for about maybe a year to a year and a half. And then unfortunately, he got deployed um, overseas. And so I came back to California and I lived in California. I went to cosmetology school. I had dropped out of college and did cosmetology school for a while. I absolutely loved it. But then I realized that I loved more of the makeup side of it. And then from there, I actually like this is the thing about me. I have so many different interests that it's very hard for me to pick one and stick with it because I am so intrigued. And I think I said this on one of my other podcasts, but I'm so intrigued with so many different areas that it was always hard for me to pick like a specific major or a specific line of work. And so I not only went to cosmetology school, I attempted to go into, I wanted to do like makeup for movies. So your aesthetic makeup. So like first I am obsessed with not only Star Wars but Lord of the Rings. And so I wanted to be able to do makeup like that. And it entailed like prosthetics and it entailed, knowing how to do different kinds of bald wig things and stuff. And so I wanted to go to school and there was a school in LA and unfortunately it was stupid expensive. So I had to pass that up. And then I actually went to school to become a medical assistant. And I was thinking about potentially dabbling into going to school to become a nurse. And um, it's sad to say I don't do very well on tests. I get test anxiety. Like if you want to give me a test, like can it please be verbally because I could talk to you all day and I could tell you the answers. But once it comes to a test, like screw that. I don't know what it is, but like I shut down and I don't read the questions fully and I just like start marking crap off. So I gave that up and then I actually went through like a crazy time where I needed to get out of California, but I didn't know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. So again, I packed up my life and I moved to Arizona. So I lived in Arizona for 5 years. And I first started off in Chandler, Arizona. And then again, I am a gypsy soul. So I just kept on moving until I found my place. But I moved from Chandler to Gilbert and then Gilbert to Phoenix, which was like right outside of Scottsdale. So I was in Scottsdale all the time. And then I moved from Phoenix back to Gilbert. And then from Gilbert, I moved to Tempe, Arizona, and I stayed there for a good solid year. So I did do a lot of moving when I lived in Arizona, but it's kind of crazy because when I left California, I was probably I want to say I was 23, 24 when I left California. And when I left California, I was living in the beach area. I was living in Huntington Beach. And so I left the beach for the desert. But I have to say that Arizona was a very pivotal moment in my growing phases in my life at that time. So without Arizona, I don't really know who I would have been today. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I needed that time. So I lived there and I met a lot of friends. And I think it was just so amazing to me because when I moved to Arizona, nobody knew me, right? I made friends from my own self. Like no one was like, hey, this is so and so, or hey, I know, people from high school that moved to Arizona. It wasn't the case like that. I got a job out there. I started meeting people and then my friend group just started to grow. And when I say that it was a pivotal moment for me, it's because I did a lot of growing in when I lived in Arizona. And I had gone from like relationship to relationship to relationship. And so when I lived in Arizona, I was more of like I was trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to become. And I've done a lot of changing since I lived in Arizona. I wish that me now could tell myself at that age how different I was going to become because, that was almost 10, 11 years ago that I lived there. But I feel like I've made some bad choices when I lived out there, but I needed that to end up to grow to who I am today. So, unfortunately, that was more or less of my learning experiences, my journey in life was to go through some of the things I went through when I lived in Arizona. But I also had some of the best times of my life. Like I was able to live with just girlfriends and lived on my own. And I did some traveling. I was able to see life in a different way. So I was really excited when I decided to come back to California after being there for 5 years. Only because like my family was growing. My little sister had just had her son, and so I wanted to be home more and be able to have those moments with my family. But it's kind of crazy because I feel like when I left Arizona, I was still very much in that mindset of being wild and free. I was still very much, I was going through a phase of I didn't give an F. And I feel like the reason why I was in that phase in my life was because when I was around like 18, 19 years old, I went through this crazy part where I I became very angry. I became very um I don't give an F kind of vibe. And if I didn't like you, I would say it. If I didn't like the things that you were doing to me, I would say it. And now who I am today, that's not who I am. And I don't really like that part of me. But unfortunately, like I said, we're all going through growth in life and stuff. So I had to go through that at that time. But I feel like the reason I was like that was because I had given myself to not only loved ones, but friends. And then it almost came out to be where it was I ended up getting hurt in the end. So I became very um guarded with who I was. I became very cold. I became very like I gave you my heart and then you shattered it. So I'm going to kind of be rude. And I didn't really like that after a while. Being angry all the times takes up so much energy and it's hard, it's exhausting, and I really didn't like that part of me, to be honest with you. So when I came back to California, I really had made a promise to myself that I was going to change a lot of things about myself. Um, and that was my main focus. I told myself I wasn't going to be angry anymore. I wasn't going to have these nonsense fights. I was like, I am a Libra, so I do hold grudges, unfortunately. And it's something that I'm still working on to this day. And I don't hold grudges because of the person, or I hold grudges toward the person. I hold grudges toward the experience or what happened. So, necessarily I would say that I don't cut off people, but it's almost like I remember what you did to me and that experience and how it made me feel. So sometimes I take back my energy from giving it to you. I take back, not the friendship, but like, hey, we should be able to talk to each other and tell each other how we feel. And not necessarily does that mean that I'm dogging you or talking crap about you or anything like that. That it comes from a loving place. And therefore, I want to be able to say that. So I think that's the hard part. Hey, back for the second clip. Apologize as I had to run really quickly, but I listened to where I left off and I kind of just wanted to jump back in. So I wanted to start where I left off. So yeah, I didn't end up meeting my significant other that I've been with now. I had failed relationships throughout my whole 20s. And it wasn't until I met my boyfriend at 29 years old. Crazy, right? The way we met is like super crazy and super funny. But when I was younger, I used to always be like infatuated with Valentine's Day. And unfortunately, as I got older, as my heart grew colder, I realized that it's not really anything necessary, nothing that you need to be so obsessed with. So I really stopped caring about Valentine's Day. And so the way that we met is I actually met him at a bar on Valentine's Day, like literally the organic way before all of these dating apps became the way to meet people, which is so wild. But I probably would not have been able to do the whole dating dating apps, dating websites, all of that stuff is not for me. But we did meet the old organic way, which was at a bar, and we had a mutual friend, and that's kind of how we met. My mutual friend brought him to the bar, and I'd never met him before, and the mutual friend I had only known for like maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month at that. So it was fate because the mutual friend ended up moving away, and we really don't see him that often, but he was our little Cupid for the night. And the rest was history. It's so crazy because I was in this path of like, I don't want to be in a relationship. I just want to be single. I want to be wild and free. And we met, and literally the day we met, we texted each other every day, all day. And we were only away from each other for, I think, like one weekend. And then ever since then, we've really hardly ever been apart. The only time we're apart is like when I go do my girl things and he goes off and does his thing. But majority of the time, like, we're always together. So yeah, the rest of it is history pretty much because we've been together ever since. We had our daughter when I was 30 years old. So it's kind of like brought me into the era I'm in now. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this get to know me situation of a podcast episode, is because now that I'm in into my 30s, and then I'm approaching 40, I want to jump into like what my 30s were like and the things that I went through, and the accomplishments of being a mom, and then also career paths and all of that stuff. So that was kind of like why I wanted to do this, like, hey, get to know me. There's so much more in between that I want to get more in depth with, but this was just like pretty much like a surface coverage of everything because unfortunately my life wasn't just that pretty in a little bow. Absolutely not. There's crazy and wild twists and turns all throughout my journey. So I definitely want to dive deeper into certain topics and certain situations. But I feel like with each episode that I want to do moving forward, it's going to be almost like an inspiration, but like things that I've gone through, maybe things that my co-hosts have gone through as well. So I have some really cool things planned in the near future, and I'm super excited. This was just obviously like a surface level of getting to know me and kind of the background of the name of Gossip Chronicles. So again, please do not just take it as like this is a gossip podcast, because it's definitely not what it is. It's more or less just like, I'm your homegirl, you're my homegirl, and we're going to chit, we're going to chat, we're going to just go through all of the things that I find interesting, and be prepared because I find everything interesting. So I apologize in advance. But yeah, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this get to know me, and I will dive deeper into different topics. But that's definitely where you as my audience comes into play, because I definitely want your input. Again, there's so many different things that I have gone through, and some of my friends and things, and if I can get the okay on some of these topics, I definitely want to be able to chat about these things. I think that there's so much going on in the world, and just hearing a story that may inspire you or might bring some happiness to you, I feel like that's super important right now. Again, in the way of the world, which it's crazy out there. So definitely, I really, really am leaning on you guys as my listeners, as my followers, to definitely chime in where you can, and definitely give me your ideas of maybe something you went through and you want me to chat about it. Maybe somebody else can help you through a hard time that you're going through. I definitely want to be able for us to all just have like this great community of no judgment, and like, hey, as a woman going into her 40s, maybe you can help me in situations, or I can help you in situations, and let's just have some fun. Let's just vibe with each other. Good vibes. It's like my motto is everything is good vibes, good vibes. So I definitely want that to be part of the podcast. And again, it's not just going to be strictly on things in the media or social media or celebrities. It's just, sometimes I find those things interesting and I kind of relate them to life as well. But I think that it would be fun to get a little bit deeper, to try new kind of episodes. But Definitely share this podcast with all of your family, your friends, if you find it interesting, because just sharing the love is something I find inspirational as well, because a lot of my new followers are from people who have reposted for me. And I think that's amazing. So yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling now, and I can't wait to hear all of your guys' comments. And also, please make sure to remember I am on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I am on YouTube. I do typically share my links. So if the only thing that I'm not on is Facebook, I can't do Facebook. Well, I can, but I don't want to. So I haven't done Facebook, and I don't even know, like, it's been over a decade. Me and Facebook, we divorced a long time ago, and I will not go back. I say that and I hope I stick to that. But anyways, thank you guys so much for all the love and the support. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. I kind of took a little hiatus because it was my birthday. It was my daughter's birthday. We have a lot of festivities going on. And it's so cool to see, because a lot of people are like, hey, you didn't post anything. Are you okay? And I think it's amazing for all of you guys who are checking in on me. And I really, really appreciate the love. I can't tell you that enough. So again, I know this one was a little bit shorter and I kind of just jumped in and ended it, but that's kind of what I wanted to do in the beginning. I just wanted to give you a surface level of like my past into my present, just basic surface level. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Love you so much. Peace out. Jen out.